Right. So the new unit is a cyber security. Yeah. So like we discussed that you are in the software development team again already, and you know somehow what is the importance of the security, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So let us look at the uh, yeah. So let us directly start. Yeah, and let's see what what we discuss. So learners will develop an understanding of the importance of cybersecurity to organizations, and they will understand the industry standards of cybersecurity and be able to recommend improvements in the security to a client. Yeah, just for refreshing, can you tell me, the most of the time you must have heard the information security, cyber security. Is there any difference in between the terms?
So my understanding of cyber is more to do with the internet and people trying to penetrate from outside, whereas information security is more about actually securing the data within organizations and how data is managed.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So most of the time people use the term interchangeably. Yeah. And but actually, the difference is that when it comes to the normal information security, then it could be any form of the or whether the hard copy or digital form, no matter if it is online or offline, but securing the information is one thing. Yeah. And securing the information on the internet is another thing. Yeah. So probably this information, the cyber security is the subset of the information security. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Right. So computer security, cyber security, or information technology security, yeah, is the same thing. When you say information security, it means general, but when you say information technology security, it means you are referring to the cyber security, the protection of computer systems and networks, yeah, from the theft or damage to their hardware, software, or electronic data. So not only you try to secure your network as well as computer, or computers as well as networks. Make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
So for example, if you have created an application for the limited use within the organization, and those number of computers are not connected with the internet. Yeah. So probably, for example, you have just secured your network. Yeah. So that your network could not be connected outside the organization. However, you have not secured your systems. Make sense?
Yes, yes.
Right. So the cyber security involves networks, the computer systems, the softwares, any electronic data. One is a secure, as well as from the disruption or misdirection of the services they provide. Yeah. So it's not the case that something would be stolen, but something can be disrupted as well, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Or something could be misleaded, something could be forged. Yeah. So in somehow, the intentions of the the hackers could be multiple. Yeah. So somehow, they can, they want to steal something, somehow they want to show themselves. Sometimes, you might have heard when they hack the web servers. Yeah. And sometimes they hack the educational institutes. Yeah. what they do, they publish one page and they write down their name. Hey, here I have hacked your website, just for their publicity, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And what happens, basically those hackers are, there are two types of the hackers. Like, one, those who hack something and do their jobs hiddenly. They don't expose themselves. Yeah. But sometimes the professional hackers, yeah, they do not become hackers because of the intention to harm someone, but they could be considered as a testers. Yeah. So whenever they they think that any system has got any uh, uh, flaw or the loophole, then they hack it first, and they leave the their name, that okay, here is the security loop, and we have broken it, and now contact us, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So that's like ethical hacking.
Yeah, ethical hacking in order to safeguard the companies, the softwares for the positive impact. Yeah. And so that they should make their systems more secure. Yeah.
Cool.
Now, so normally we want to secure our cyber usage, and let us see what we normally do. Normally we use the email, we do some banking. Yeah, we log into our banking, online banking, our finance, financial websites, where, for example, our the trades, the trade market, the shares, and the trading websites. Yeah. And they are valuable to us. And social networking, our social circle, the usage of the social websites, our the mobile applications. We do shopping online, we do gaming and entertainment as well, and we download, we share the files, we use voice over internet calls. Yeah. So during these activities we could be attacked, and there are certain risks involved in using these activities, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
These are kind of general usage. Maybe there could be more specific uses of the activities, but normally we use them, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So furthermore, the common cyber security threats, yeah, we have been listening since ages, or the years. Day by day, the things and the attacks are the being introduced newly. Do you agree?
Yes, yeah.
So some of them I have listed now, and let us see. You must be aware from the denial of service, distributed denial of service. Yeah. So very much clear about it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm comfortable with all these ones.
Yeah. So basically, the distributed denial of service is that if they cannot hack the website, yeah, and they cannot harm the website, then what they do the bombardments of the request. Yeah. The bombardment is, the, let's say, 1,000, the server capability is to respond, let's say, 1,000, or, or the 500 user requests, yeah, through the HTTP, for example. Then, when they do so using botnets. Botnets are basically a series of computers, yeah, a kind of, the connected devices, yeah, which help to create the denial of service attacks. Yeah. And possibly they could still be used, they steal data, send spamming, or allowing attackers to access the device and its connections. Yeah. So most of the time that's done with the bots, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Then normally you try to hack. When you try to hack, then you can do anything. Yeah. And the other risks involved like a malwares. So normally the malware is a general term for the viruses, spywares, Trojan horses, worms. Yeah. So if we simply look at the virus, then virus is its purpose is that to damage the files and to damage the hardware and replicate itself. Yeah. So replicating the virus on its uses as much as you would be using, then it would be replicating. However, spyware, Trojan horses, worms, they have been designed especially for a specific type of activities. Yeah. So furthermore, there would be lots of, the informations and types, so that may be too much, for the today's discussion. So we are just, listing out that malware is a general, term for the malicious softwares. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Then farming. Yeah. So if you have studied or not, but simply the farming is that intended to redirect a website's traffic to another in a fake, way. Yeah. So sometimes people say, that here is your link. They send us, short link, or when they say something, send a message, you have been given a lucky draw and click on this link or something like that, so that's called the farming. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Any example, do you have anything in mind for the farming?
On farming, no, but it can be used quite a lot with banking websites, so that people enter their personal information into another one, and then that way the hackers can get their password and username and things.
That's basically the phishing. Yeah. And the farming is a new word. Yeah. And like I said, on the daily basis, within the cyber world, yeah, they are introducing the ways and the new attacks. So the farming says that intentionally redirecting a website traffic to another fake website. That's basically the farming. Yeah. And when it comes to the phishing, then using phishing, you would know that basically you are trying or you are accessing, let's say, PayPal. Yeah. And the page would look like to you that it's a PayPal, but if you are a general user, you don't know, you cannot understand the web address, the URL. Yeah. Then that would be a kind of phishing. Yeah. Like you are a fish, and you try to insert the username and password. You assume that you are inserting your username and password into the PayPal. However, that would be a hook, stuck into your, mouth, and you are done. Yeah?
Yeah.
So the new term farming is slightly different. Yeah.
I understand that now.
Now, yeah, and ransomware.
Yeah, ransomware. That's where they'll maybe put a screen on that you can't close down and demand that you make payment, or things like that.
Yeah, but sometimes, when people try to, install some softwares from the internet, yeah, and they say, oh, the software you have used, has been used illegally, yeah, and you would be prosecuted and, pay £150 now, otherwise a legal notice would be served to your website and blah, 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 yeah. So ransom is basically the ransom amount, like, when people hijack someone, yeah, kidnap someone, and they call for the ransom money, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And also what happens, that the one of the another type, when people, use the pornographic websites, yeah, and then they deliberately, do something like that. You have been using this it unethically, something like that. You have been caught out, something like, blackmailing, and for the those type of the websites. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's the ransom. Then spamming is also threat, like spamming are using the junk mails. Yeah. And like email bombarding. Yeah. So maybe you could send thousands of emails to one person. Yeah. So spamming is like a bulk thing. Yeah. Then spoofing is the uh, when the attacker tries to uh, to duplicate, or I mean the what you call impersonate the things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Impersonating things, like that they send that we are the government, we are from HMRC. Yeah. And maybe they might be sending the phone calls, they might be sending emails. Yeah. And that here is the link, you pay the tax deduction, something like that. The tax references, otherwise a code notice would be served, something like that. So that's basically if spoofing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then Wi-Fi eavesdropping. Yeah. Wi-Fi eavesdropping is basically when you try to go at the public places. Yeah. And the kind of the unencrypted Wi-Fi networks you find there. Yeah. And when you try to connect with that Wi-Fi, and what happens after connecting, your devices could be accessed or hacked by the hackers. Yeah.
Yes.
Like Wi-Fi eavesdropping, you must have heard, but like they have given a kind of classification now, isn't it?
Yes.
So yeah, that's true. Like the new people. Yeah. Or even if you go to any shopping center, and if you don't know, I mean, you are not sure if the shopping center is offering you the free Wi-Fi or not. Or for example, if you went to the surgery. Yeah. And most of the surgeries don't offer any Wi-Fi, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the hacker came in, he created a free Wi-Fi. Yeah. And he created a hotspot. Yeah. Without any password, it would look like that the Wi-Fi is presented. Yeah. Offered from the surgery. Then he can easily uh, uh, hack someone's mobiles and the important data, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So why I believe that one of the most hot concern and the threat in the public is Wi-Fi eavesdropping nowadays. Do you agree?
Yeah, because it's the less likely attack that people will expect.
Yeah, definitely. Well, do you think it would be easier to trace the hacker?
No, because they could use a device that isn't tracked back to them.
Uh, but if it is a serious or the criminal, no, I would say it would be very easy for the uh, it could be somehow easy. The reason, yeah, for example, if you try to connect the device, yeah, your device with the particular Wi-Fi, for example, then your device can have some parameters. Yeah, for example, that you are trying to connect to the Wi-Fi of the Wi-Fi adapter of a device. For example, you were hacked. Yeah. Then let me give you a good example. For example, intentionally I created a Wi-Fi. Yeah. How did I do that? I used my mobile phone. Yeah. My mobile phone is somehow registered with some of the phone, some of the any email, some of the IP address. From some point of view, I would be leaving some
True, true,
then your device was hacked, then easily maybe it could be known that to which device you were connected, and the obviously the sending and receiving request comes from the some IP address and the MAC address as well. Yeah. And the MAC address is the unique thing for any device. Yeah. Which could identify that in which device the particular MAC address was used, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it is not the concern of the user after hacking, but still everything is possible, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, for example, the normal users, yeah, those which was hacked may not be able to trace it, but if the intelligent user, they knew that people are creating the uh, dummy Wi-Fi networks, yeah, and then intentionally, the monitoring software or the monitoring mobile could, log in into that, the particular hackers, hottest spot, and they can further investigate, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
So everything is possible, yeah. So what I was thinking that the Wi-Fi eavesdropping would be the one of the major cyber security threat in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But as long as the applications, yeah, the applications and the mobiles itself, yeah, are somehow intelligent, yeah, and if we intentionally don't allow the access to our mobiles, isn't it?
Yeah.
But nowadays what happens, the our mobile devices have been have become the no mobile apps. Yeah. Every time while we are in hurry and trying to install any mobile, then quickly they ask to you, the particular app is trying to access your phone book, particular app is trying to access your microphone, particular app is trying to access your webcam, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
What happens? Yeah. Then the intruders, yeah, the applications that you installed, then once you allowed any application, your microphone and uh, the camera, then they can open it anytime.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
One of my friend, yeah, he said that although on a particular day, yeah, or particular night, they didn't use their phones, yeah, and even they didn't type, yeah, anything, but they were talking about some weakness and particular health supplements about someone's health, yeah. Then what happened, on the next day they were uh, shown the advertisements of the supplements related with particular deficiency they were talking about over the phone, oh no, in the room.
Wow. That's
Did
that's
you get?
that's yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So it happened not only one time, but they he noticed couple of times, and most of the times that it happens. Yeah. So that
Yeah.
is the level of, the uh, uh, intrusion, yeah, and how they, enter our system. Well,
Yeah.
so don't need to worry about it, because we have to understand it, and we have to, secure it. So that's why we are learning this, right?
Yep.
Now, scams and frauds. So most of the time you get the scams, through the email. Yeah. You get the scammers, messages through phishing. Yeah. And the new term like as smishing scams. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you must have heard about now smishing.
Yes, that comes through text rather than email.
Yeah. Like, for me, for example, are the, again, this is a new term, smishing, isn't it?
Yes.
Like, if since few years, yeah, and they have given a term like a smishing. Yeah. So furthermore, there would again be classification in the naming conventions. Like, before phishing came in, there was no concept of phishing, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Then contest and scams. So sometimes, they say you have been enrolled into the contest, yeah, and you have won like 1 million, pound, since you were, put into the lucky draw and blah blah blah, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then online dating scams, yeah. Then social networking scams, fraudulent calls, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah. So fraudulent calls, most of the time, most of the, uh, you know, mostly in the UK, the fraudulent calls are made. Are you aware of some of them?
Yes. Yeah.
For example,
Yeah. I get them all the time, trying to say my computer's broken or my bank account's been hacked or things like that, and try to get money out of me.
no, you mean, do they call you?
I've had them in the past where they say that the bank and they want to confirm my details and my password and things like that.
All right, so they try to call you, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm very, relaxed at the moment. Like, the banks have introduced the two-factor security. Yeah. So, like, all of the transactions, if you want to do anything new, then you are required to authorize via two-factor security, like a one-time password, authorizing it from your mobile and something like that. So I never worried about, for any single penny to be stolen from the bank accounts. Even if the hacker, for example, has got, the username and passwords, yeah, they can log
Mm.
in. Do you think they should be able to steal any single penny?
No, no.
No, because if they wanted to transfer any amount, yeah, to any bank, yeah, and obviously, if it would be the national, then the money would, go into the account, instantly, but obviously they won't be able to withdraw. And if they would try to withdraw and try to get the money transferred, then obviously it can be a serious criminal, you know theft. So they can be traced, so no one would try here. And even internationally, the bank won't be transferring any amount instantly, yeah, unless the verification, process is going on, the automated and somehow manual, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So international bank transfers, they are not done instantly. What they say normally that, that it can take up to, 24 hours. So apart from the automated, filters, yeah, then they must, do some manual checks as well, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and even on the social networking sites, or when you are trying to let's say advertise your product, or your advertise anything, then before getting it approved automatically, no matter if you want to pay anything, yeah, those things are checked manually. Yeah.
Yep.
So they try to get the things done from the human eye. Yeah. So possible scams exist here, but again, the thanks to the inventors of the information technology, they have you know uh, they are trying to facilitate us. Yeah. And the hackers try to break those systems, and again the developers try to protect them, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Now, classification of security threats. So normally the security threat could be classified into three categories, that they can attack on the confidentiality, they can attack on the integrity, they can attack on the availability. Yeah. So availability in a sense that if they're trying to denial of service, then it's one kind of the category. Yeah. And when they try to attack on the confidentiality, means these attacks can be designed to steal something, personal information, something, your bank account or credit card. But when they attack on your integrity, then they change the data basically. Yeah. Subrogate it. Yeah. They and often called leaks. So cyber criminal will access and release the sensitive information for the purpose of exposing. Yeah. As well as they have they can change the data. So integrity is basically the reputation. They can harm the reputation by, for example, by doing something into their data or stealing their data. However, the confidentiality is the stealing, but the integrity would only be damaged when something secrets are the leaked out. Yeah. So normally these are the three, although there are lots of classifications, yeah, types of cyber threats, but when you try to fit in the threats, then they fall into this. Yeah. So physically, which is the availability, making them inaccessible, trying to the harm the reputation or integrity, and to attack or access the credential information. Yeah. So using the credential information, they won't be able to harm, but at least they will have our the critical information, isn't it?
Yes.
Right. Now, so potential targets of cyber criminals in organizations. So the criminals or hackers within the organization would try to steal the customer data, the employee data, the intellectual property things. The intellectual property things could be anything. For example, if the company has got a license or the formula to implement or to design anything, then they could steal it. Maybe the third party vendors involved, and they could affect the product's quality or safety. They could steal contract terms and pricing, maybe their strategic planning, their financial data, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like this unit has been designed more specifically in order to address these issues in the organizations. Yeah. So we discussed in general the above few slides, that what the security, the cyber security is. and what normal activities we do, and what are the threats, possible threats, yeah, and then what frauds do you expect, yeah, and then if you try to classify, then how do you classify those threats, and then when you come to the organization, then the the criminals would be looking at some of these targets, yeah. Furthermore, let us see that what are the risks involved in the organization, yeah. So how those risks are involved. So for example, number one is the unsecure authentication, yeah. So authentication is like when you try to authenticate or authorize your staff, yeah, that for example, the manager can only access or change the employees records, yeah. So possibly, yeah, unsecure authentication could lead the access of the critical information by someone else. Many companies have a weak authentication procedures, allowing hackers to gain the access to a network. Once attackers successfully impersonate other users, they can steal your data and run rampant through your network. So faulty authentication can arise from unencrypted passwords in transit over the network. For example, if you try to send the username and passwords to someone via unsecure way, yeah. So it could be the reason of poor authentication, then predictable session IDs, yeah. The session ID is that if you try to create a communication, then the sessions would be the one of the loopholes. Reusing the session tokens, yeah, and session hijacking vulnerabilities, and URLs that contain sensitive session ID information. The session tracking. Have you done the session tracking in the server programming?
I've not had any experience of that personally.
But do you have idea of session tracking?
Is that to manage the number of sessions and users that are running concurrently in the system?
Yeah. So what happens? For example, if there is a Amazon server, then Amazon server is Amazon website is allowing the users to create their own baskets. Yeah. When they create their own baskets, then what happens? The sessions are created individually for every user. Yeah. So in this way, the unsecure authentication is basically could be stolen from the the sessions created in local machines. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you try to learn the server side programming, then there is an important lesson, session management. Yeah. So the session management is being taught and implemented using the sessions, whatever the number of the not only the visible objects that you store in the session, let's say how many items you have chosen, but your name, your data, your login ID and password is also remains into that session. Because every time, for example, you added some item into the your basket, then along with the item to be in basket, your login data somehow an important URL would also be stored into that session. Yeah.
Yeah.
So furthermore, injection flaws are the SQL injections. Yeah. So what happens when the developers create the SQL commands trying to access the data from the servers, then what happens? During that execution of the commands, the hackers can change the queries. Yeah. Have you heard about the SQL injection?
Yeah. I've even tried it.
Yeah. So, for example, if the user or the application wanted to withdraw, let's say, £100 from the account, yeah, they sent a command, and the command was, converted into the SQL query, and somehow the SQL query was, further hijacked or the, hacked, then that query can really, do anything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And for example, if they knew the privileges of admin, then using the admin privileges, they can create, their own SQL commands. Yeah, no matter if the software itself has capability to retrieve the any particular data, but once the database is accessible, yeah, through the SQL, then SQL injection can steal any data from the database, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's basically the bug, the big bug into the, connecting the applications with databases and requesting the, database using the SQL. And when the SQL is being, hacked, then it can, you know, uh, uh, it can be at a very high risk, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Then malicious insiders is basically, if your employees are not sincere with you, if they leak the information, then it's a big harm to the organization, isn't it? Yeah. Further, the denial of service is one kind of the risk. Yeah. Denial of service is if the attacker cannot access, the website, then they would be bombarding with the bots. Yeah. Then last are stolen devices. For example, being an employee, if you had the critical information of your organization, you lost it, your laptop was stolen, yeah, then it could be risk, isn't it?
Yeah.
Risk to the organization, risk to the job, isn't it? Yeah. Poor IT management is that no policy for updating the softwares, password, user accounts, and running the web applications in the debug mode. Yeah. Then risky use of passwords. Like in every, let's say, you used a password for the demo, the same, and you use the same password in the actual website for the admin access. Yeah. So, for example, when we try to run the JBoss server, as a testing, then we use the same password, and we as a developer use the same password in our own, web server. Yeah. So the hackers can trace that the users, those who tried, for example, particular web server or the web application or the example, and they would be trying to, look at the our usage, that how and what type of passwords we used. Yeah. Because internet, when we use anything, then we leave footstep. Yeah. That what we did, and by looking at the usage of our usage and the nature of use, the hackers try to get the things. So reusing the passwords, yeah, the same type of password into any kind of application, it is basically dangerous. For example, if I use my password for the Facebook, yeah, and some of the websites which offer a free download books, yeah, they are saying me that give your email address and create your account into this, we'll offer you free ebook. Do you think that maybe 50% I would be using the same password, yeah, for the Facebook, and the same password for the very very unsecure or very common website, both will have the same password, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big mistake. Yeah. Then out of date patches like the updates into the softwares. If we don't update our softwares or the operating systems, then it is again a risk. Then furthermore, the custom crafted URLs queries and misconfigured server settings. If you have a very strong server but you did not configure well, it would be a problem. And sometimes, in order to uh, you create the short links in order to access your website. For example, the way in the you created a software, it had many URLs. Yeah. And in order to reduce the writing the big URLs, you created the short URL. And once the short URL is leaked, yeah, then you will be in problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like when people share the photographs on the website or on the on the Facebook. When you uploaded the photographs on the Facebook, they are public, but their URLs are too big and cannot be guessed. Yeah. But if you try and copy the same URL and paste into the another browser, then they still exist here. Yeah. So, but if you created a short URL and shared with someone else, then it would be risky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then furthermore, the sensitive data exposure. If the sensitive data exposure is used without the HTTPS protocol, if you did not encrypt it, then for example, if you created a new software, a new website, and you have not implemented the HTTPS, means the SSL certificate. Yeah. In order the endpoint and the server side communication should have been incremented, then your sensitive data is at the exposure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then human error, because of the human error from any programming error, sending or any important information, email being sent to anyone else, yeah, is also security risk. For example, my email address, yeah, has a different spelling, and by mistake, you used a slightly different, email address. Instead of you used double E, then this went to someone else, and someone else misused the important credentials, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Now, impacts of cybersecurity in your organization. If anything happens, yeah, then a cyber attack would result in the financial, reputational, and legal consequences. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, financial, economic cost of the cyber, attack. Makes sense? Should I go through, or you understand well that what the economic or the financial a loss can happen because of the cyber attack?
Yeah, no, I'm fully aware of that, so I'm quite happy to look at that myself.
Yeah. So anything could be happen, the theft of the money or anything, disruption to trade or loss of business contract. Yeah. Anything can happen. Yeah. Then the reputation could be damaged as well. Yeah. That the website of, let's say, the UCL, University College London, was hacked. Yeah. It means they don't have a good IT system or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then the legal consequences of the cyber breach. And legally, for example, if the bank is, the computer of the bank is hacked, then not only, there would be fine, but there could be regulatory sanctions. Maybe the bank could be suspended. It could be lots of legal, uh, things, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So the ways to improve the computer security is build security awareness and clearly define and manage the user authorizations, establish a firewall, install and maintain antivirus software defined a network concept with clearly structured and different zones, separate high security areas, yeah, implement restrictive data access mechanisms, use non-administrative accounts, yeah, like they should have a less privileges on the daily computer network activities, set a strong passwords, yeah, and add encryption to sensitive data, use VPN, have backup policy, implement clear employee guidance, maintain physical security, update software regularly, monitor all systems, and activate security logs. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of them, rest of them would be more, in depth and technically, depending on the type of the network and the type of the application, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So the today's session was, about the current security risks and the possible, vulnerabilities, yeah, or the, possibilities of the threats within the organization, and how evaluating that, how they affect or impact on the organization. So we discussed that how the organization can be affected, its reputation could be damaged, and its it would have some consequences, and so how you can improve it, and the what risks are involved regarding the organization, and what are the general risks involved, and what type of activities we do, and what type of the frauds can be done. Yeah. So somehow I have tried to add uh, anything possibly from the available net resources. Basically, if you would go to the books resources, then I would think that the books cannot be recommended, for any year, and every year you get a new information, isn't it?
Yeah, it's changing all the time.
Changing all the time. So even when you're writing the assignments, you can try to look at the latest, threads, yeah, of 2020, for example, yeah. So maybe you get a more new, and you may get a new information and add, to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all for today, and I would see you again with the LO2 for the LO2 next week. Yeah.
L2 next week. Yeah. Thank you, Ajaz.
No problem. And bye for now. Yeah.
Thank you. Good night.
All right.